I want to invite our co-host on the stage. Please welcome Jackie.
Gladly to present our next speaker, seasoned payments card and financial industry professional with over 20 years in the industry, including 15 years in different leadership roles in the GCC area. Worked with several of the Middle East's leading banks and financial institutions encompassing card issuing and acquiring processing portfolios, and also in the fintech startup. Experience includes facilitation of mergers and acquisitions and pre-IOP global equity partnership investments. A firm believer in the transformational power of fintech for businesses, consumers, including the democratization of payments and financial inclusion via digital simplification. Proudly to present Mr. Salim Awan, Magnati Payments subsidiary of First Abu Dhabi Bank.
Please welcome on the stage.
Good morning and Assalamu alaikum. Payment is a very boring subject, and I know on a Saturday morning, talking about payment will probably be a little boring for everyone, but I'll try to make it interesting. Before I talk about payments, I would like to share a story. And this is about women leadership, to share some of my personal experience in terms of that story. Back in 2017, there was a merger between two banks, which are very large banks in UAE. One was the National Bank of Abu Dhabi, and second was the First Gulf Bank. So the merger took place, and these banks were primarily dominated by very senior CEOs, and those CEOs were typically male CEOs of the banks. And there were a lot of discussion around who will be the new CEO and all that. So there was a gentleman known as Abdul Hamid Saeed who became the first CEO of First Abu Dhabi Bank, the new merged entity. And then over a period of time, he was being identified as someone who will take over the leadership of Central Bank of UAE. So he was appointed as a governor of Central Bank. So then in his place, there was another search which started that who will be the CEO of the largest bank in the UAE. And we all were speculating within being employees of that bank. We were all speculating, and we were taking various names. But nobody was imagining or thinking that the largest bank within UAE and within GCC, second largest bank within GCC, would be given to a leadership of a woman. So it was a big surprise for everyone initially that, Hana Al-Rustamani, who she is our group CEO, that she will be given this opportunity to become the group CEO of a larger bank which is present in multiple countries. And then there were certain reservations in terms of how would she run the bank, how would she manage things. And amazingly, for the last 4 years, if you look at our financial performance, it's amazing. As one of the employee of the bank, I would say there are so many new initiatives which have come into play, and Hana Al-Rustamani has come up as a very, very strong CEO of the bank. So this is a small story which I wanted to share in terms of women leadership as far as the largest financial institution within GCC is concerned. So by no mean that old mindset where we used to think that only there are few areas where only men can contribute, but now we have very good examples. And typically, I think UAE, no doubt, is one of the example and one of the country which could be used as an example for so many countries, so many economies to look into this specific area where women empowerment has become an example. As far as the digital payment are concerned, I would just like to divide it into two different areas. Payments in general is one of the largest industry in the world now in terms of growth. And there has been a clear change which has come into the payments in terms of digitization of this area. So if we look at the economy and the practices before COVID, there was a lot of kind of a processing of payment which was taking place in terms of typically just in-store kind of transactions. But now, over a period of time, we have seen that the e-commerce has emerged as a leading kind of area where we see that the online payments have become very, very important. Previously, when we used to talk about payments, people used to take it as a one boring kind of a transaction, and that's all about it. But now, if you look at the customer experience or customer journey of any of the organization, it has become very, very important part of the customer experience and customer journey. So today, for example, if you visit any of the websites, or you go to any of the store to buy a Louis Vuitton bag, or you want to buy a new watch or something, And if at the checkout, your payment is not going through, your whole experience of shopping or whole experience of availing that service will go for a 6. So this is why it has become an integral part of overall customer experience and journey. And now a lot of companies are investing into this area to make this experience wonderful. So they were learning. Somebody has talked about working from home. Somebody has mentioned about other learnings which had taken place during the COVID. So we have seen that most of the governments, and typically the government in UAE, started working on digital payments, and that has helped them to collect payments at the ease of the consumers. If you look at the smart city concepts or smart government concepts, you see there is a lot of payments which are being received from the businesses, from the government, through typically digital modes. So there's evolution which is taking place. The digital payments started back in 1960s with the plastic cards, which were introduced by a few of the American banks. And then gradually over a period of time, today you see that there are QR payments, there are biometric payments, there are facial recognition through which the payments can take place. So this is the evolution journey which has taken place. So the message here is that they have become part and parcel of the overall experience. We have discussed about overall consumer experience. So what's happening is that today, there is a lot of data which comes in with the payments. When I go as a part of my job to meet various professionals like yourself, typically the group financial officers of large organizations, so their prime focus is primarily on the cost. That how do you reduce our pricing? How do you provide us something which is more commercially relevant to the company? But here is something else which is taking place in the businesses. And more than the cost, there is a data which is associated to every payment transaction, typically when it comes to the consumer payments. So today, if, for example, imagine if you go to McDonald's and your preference is a veggie burger, and imagine that the time you give the order or you make the payment, they can figure it out that you have previously purchased 10 burgers which were veggie burgers, so your preference is that. So automatically they can offer you that kind of a thing. Or they run a promotion and they understand that who are the right customers. So data is something which will be relevant in future for every business. May it be B2B payments, may it be B2G payments, may it be government-to-government payments. For example, we, as a company, process a lot of payments for Abu Dhabi government. And Abu Dhabi government has a lot of challenges, typically in terms of reconciliation, in terms of identifying that which revenue is coming from for what service. So we introduced a solution over there which was Abu Dhabi Pay, and that Abu Dhabi Pay solution is now helping them out to actually identify that what are those typical solutions which can help them promote certain services and understand the consumer behavior as well. Then there was some discussion about small businesses, where we were discussing about SMEs and empowerment of women. So the relevant case study over here is that, Emirates Post in UAE, some time back, they started empowering small businesses which are managed by Emirati women within UAE. We are proud that we empowered with that. We provided the payment gateways which were helping those smaller organizations to collect their revenues. So while you're sitting in your home, while you're managing the most difficult job, which is household, you are also running a business, and then there is a process through which you can run your business and collect your receivables through payment gateways and stuff. Secondly, there is a lot of financial non-inclusion typically within SME segment. Banks doesn't want to give them loans, they don't want to open their accounts, so they are financially kind of not very popular as far as the overall economy is concerned. And here there are a lot of women businesses which come into small and medium kind of segment of the market. Hence, in this area, there are a lot of solutions which have come up now to facilitate them, to disrupt the typical kind of payment processing, and those solutions are typically helping them. So may it be financial inclusion, may it be taking those kind of loans and other other facilities. Once you have the digital payments in place, then it becomes very easy for them to go and negotiate with lenders or to go and negotiate and pitch in their business for the investment to investors, because they have a complete kind of a digital record to prove how they are performing. So gradually, what we see is that there is artificial intelligence, there are digital wallets, there are QR payments, and the payments as we know today will definitely evolve. I don't know how many of you have experienced the Amazon in-store payments. Even Carrefour over here had started that, where you can just purchase things, put them in a cart, and just leave the shop. And everything will be scanned, and everything will be processed. So security is one of the concerns which is going to impact the future of the payments. And there's a lot which is taking place in terms of securing the payments. However, in future we will see more of the wallets, more of facial recognitions, biometrics, which will be playing part in terms of. There's another interesting kind of a piece as far as the shopping is concerned. If you look at metaverse, so within metaverse now you see that there are a lot of businesses. Relevant example could be IKEA here, where you can actually look at the stuff, you can put it into your space, and then you can figure it out that how this specific sofa or how this specific painting will look like on a wall or in your house. So metaverse is another reality which is coming up, and where you will see over a period of time a lot of things happening. Another important trend is that a lot of central banks are now looking at digital currencies, and these digital currencies will be regulated, monitored by the central banks, and hence you will see less of the conventional currency, but digital kind of payments coming in. The third relevant trend is about the active payments or instant payments. So UAE Central Bank has already started that. Where you can, it's a good news for a lot of CFOs, because I know when it used to come for B2B payments, it was very difficult, and the process was very cumbersome, and there was a lot of cost involved in moving money from one business to another business. But with these real-time payments now, there will be a UAE switch, which will be connected to GCC switch, and then when you will move money between the businesses, between the consumers, between government and consumers, or between the countries, it will be much easier, at least within GCC, to process these payments. At Magnati, we are trying to create a lot of innovation in terms of customer experience, in terms of payment processing, where we are investing in terms of creating an ecosystem which is friendlier for the business, which can bring the cost of accepting these payments to a level which is acceptable and which is scalable within the market. And that is helping us as well as the market and economy. We have been looked at by Abu Dhabi government as one of the partners, and this is why that today we are processing about 70% of their payments. In terms of UAE market, there are Etihad Airways, and there are large groups like Majid Al Futtaim. There's so many groups which we are processing their payments. Another important is that within the fuel and telco sectors, we have about 100% of the payment processing mandate with us. ADNOC being one of the largest customers of Magnati. The reason I'm explaining that is that, these companies are geared up and they are looking at the future, because the payment we know 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 2 years ago are rapidly changing, and they are willing to invest. Anything about payments, but if there's any questions, I'll be happy to take that question.
Good morning, sir. Sir, when we talk about digital payments, okay, it gives us the smooth operation, but in the meantime, there is a concern for the security. So when we go for the smoothness, definitely, we have to ensure that whatever the transactions, whatever data we have, it must be on the safe hand simultaneously, and that data should not be breached, okay? And the security of the data is also a big concern. How that Magnati will ensure all these things under the digital platform? Thank you, sir.
Sure, no, very apt question. And I think most of the CFOs are really concerned about the security and safety of payment or money movements. And that's a very right concern. So it's not Magnati. I would say it's it's an entire world and entire payment ecosystem which is geared up to look into this area. So there are a few examples which I'll give you just to satisfy you that how this process is evolving. But this process is not 100% fraud proof, or you can't say that there can't be any security breaches. However, there are secured components which have been embedded into the process when you go there. So for example, you have noticed that whenever you go on a website, sometime you get an SMS and there's a specific OTP, you give that OTP and only then your payment will go through. At the back end, there is a fraud screening system which those processors are applying, and those fraud processing systems will look at the frequency. For example, you are living in UAE and your transaction is coming from South America. You have never traveled there, for example. So there are systems which will qualify those transactions, that these transactions are originated from a specific point. So there's a frequency, velocity, amount, geography, all these parameters are looked into. Then there are these encrypted kind of messaging which happens between the two companies which are exchanging the payments. So you validate that information and then you process the payment at a later stage. So these are the few of the fundamental things. Biometric payments, obviously there'll be a facial recognition, fingerprints. There are certain things like UAE today when you land on the airport. You guys remember that movie Face Off or not, but you know it's a facial recognition which will capture your data and details and everything. But still, yes, security is a big concern globally, and it is being looked at very carefully. Today, rough and ready, simply on the payment cards, it's around $3 to $4 billion per annum, which is lost somewhere as a fraud.
Thank you very much. So I have general question which obviously others might have also the misunderstanding between the currencies which central banks are going to be launched. We call it digital currencies. And then there is cryptocurrency. So in your view and based on your experience, what broader differences do you feel or features which you feel that would be that the central bank currencies would be, digital currencies would be more secure, more reliable as compared to the cryptocurrencies?
Sure. So what was happening is that we have seen this evolution within the cryptocurrencies, and we have seen that this was basically a decentralization of the ledgers, which normally are maintained by the sovereign governments and by the central banks. And they were trying to work without any proper governance or any proper kind of a structure. And we have seen what happened to various types of cryptocurrencies in the world. So the fundamental basic difference is that when it comes to money, there is certain role of regulator which has to be there, which you cannot let go because it has to be governed and coordinated by the regulators. So the major difference is that this will be controlled by the central banks. So once it is controlled by central bank, there's a fiscal policy, there is certain governing regulations, there is a process behind that, and that process will ensure that consumer business and currency itself is protected in a proper manner. So first fundamental difference is that. And second is how will it bring change? You don't have to count notes. You don't have to write checks. You don't have to go for the manager's checks. Maybe there will be no banks. Maybe there will be an application which you will open and you will just authorize. And even your signatures, being CFO, will be all digitized. So maybe there will be a code. And today we have in our cash management solutions, we have few cash management solutions where you're all, delegation of authority, and everything could be embedded within the system. So from your chief accountant to your CFO approval process could all be digitized, and it is just a matter of seconds. You can seamlessly do that. So second is obviously the efficiency and cost and better controls. And third important thing is real-time payments, which are very important to cash flows. I know you guys get very stressed when receivables are not coming in or when the cash statement is not looking good. So that problem will be solved through the digital currencies. Yeah.
Sure. Hi, this is Numan here from Lynchpin Consulting Group. I'm head of business advisory, and I'm ex-banker as well, and I'm rather ex-FGB. So my question to you is that first, payments is a very interesting subject to me, at least, being a banker, not a boring subject. And then my question is that given digital currencies and cryptocurrencies taking the world by storm, what timeline you see for the digital currencies taking shape as legal tender? And then secondly, since digital currencies will be taking over all the payments processes, every payments will be done by the people through their mobiles, through digital currencies, where do you see the future for payments processes at that time? Thank you.
Yeah, sure. So if I get your question right, you're saying that when would this central bank-led digital currencies be available in the market to the consumers as well as to the businesses to process in terms of timelines? Yeah, sure. So I think it's not very far. If we look at the evolution of payments and disruption which is taking place in the market, it's just that the regulators, I don't know whether I can say that or not, but regulators have their own processes and they still take their own sweet time. So as far as the system, process, platform, capability is concerned, that's already available. It's just that the regulator has to, tick all the relevant kind of securities and all the relevant kind of insurance for the businesses that everything is as per the process, compliance, money laundering, all those processes are agreed and then it'll be done. But system is available. So if the regulator wants to introduce it tomorrow, I don't think there is any reason it should not be available. So it's that close. But then there is a political will, there is a security, there is a compliance, there is a money laundering, which might take some time to implement it. And sorry, the second part was...
Second part is regarding the payments.
Yeah.
What I see is that digital payments are just taking shape and everybody is doing all the payments
Yeah.
in the very near future.
Yeah.
Banks have a major portion of their earnings coming from payments and money.
Yeah. So banks are waking up now, to be very honest, because banks were sleeping for a very, 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 very long time, and they were just relying on the paper pushing, the ledgers, the checks, and writing the manager's checks. But then there is fintechs, and these millionaires and all the Generation Z. If you look at them, their preference in terms of banking is totally different. So today within room, I don't know how many of you gentlemen have ever visited a bank branch in the last I don't know, maybe a month, because everything is available on your mobile app. You can transfer money, you can remit, you can ask for a new account. So what I see is that payment processors will always be there. Companies like Magnati, thanks. So to the processing they provide. However, the front end part, which is the banks, they will gradually go away from the conventional kind of processes to the digital processes. So I'll just give an example of a digital bank over here, Vio. So if you look at this is very successful digital bank. You can do everything on your mobile. So may it be lending, may it be card, may it be business, SME account, SME lending. The difficulty is for the large corporates, which will take some time to digitize, because their structures are very complex, their funding requirements, their overall banking needs are very, very sophisticated. That will take some time. But short question is that I don't see maybe 2030, beyond 2030, banks being there in their current shape. The way the payment evolution is taking place, the way the digital wave is taking away the banks.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much.
Lovely discussion and information. Less people knows that me and Salim share a very nice relation as a teacher and student. So I was teaching in MBA when he was doing MBA, and there we know over a decade now.